Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. I've got the door open to the bird room, and I hope I don't regret that decision. But the more I talk, probably the louder they're going to get. So for those that are new, my name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We are an international educational center where we teach people all over the world how to empower animals and the people that care for them. And we do that through our live streaming services, which you can find on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. We've been live streaming our services for years. We use B.F. Skinner's Laws of Behavior, Applied Behavior Analysis, to teach people how to train new behaviors, modify behaviors, address behavior issues, shape enrichment, and train. And if you want, you can always email me at Laura, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Good morning, Donna. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Tim. So everybody, welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Critters, where we live stream every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. You can always find out more about what we do on our website. I've already mentioned where you can find that. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Emma. You can also find out more about what we do and where we're speaking on our events page here on the Animal Behavior Center. Hang on. Right, Rock. I'll be done in a minute. Or 5. Or 50. Yeah, I'm getting ready to book yet another speaking event for 2021. Looking forward to traveling again. And you can also join our email newsletter list, which is located on our website or right here on our Facebook page. Good morning, Carl. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Mary. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I may have to run here fairly shortly. Have a couple unexpected things coming up today. Good morning, Daniela. So today, and I'm thinking about this, I'm like, should I be live streaming what I'm getting ready to live stream, or should I put this in our memberships? In our memberships are online learning programs, our memberships and our projects. So I think I can do both. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to present you with a potential behavior or training concern. Doesn't matter the species. Nice job. Doesn't matter the species because it's about the laws of behavior. It's applicable to all. So if you really want to expand your knowledge in animal behavior and training, train outside the species that learn about training outside the species that you're most comfortable with. And that's how you learn, because you can be as book smart as you want, but application is key. And this is what I love about the work that I do, because I have no idea what I'm walking into every day. And you better be ready to rearrange your environment to control behavior. Okay. And what applied behavior analysis is using environmental events to control behavior. We need to control our environment. It helps, for the most part, it helps us feel more safe. It helps us feel more secure. It helps us learn from the environment. A lot of people think, and I have a podcast on this, which is located in our memberships. A lot of people think that the word control is a, I don't know, derogatory term or something that's not needed. It is needed. I do need to control my environment for numerous different reasons. Sometimes you'll find out that turn my phone off because it's blowing up. A lot of times you'll find out as much control as you think you have over your environment, boom, it goes out of control. And I always plan for situations like that. And that is why I try to be very proactive versus reactive. If I find myself where I'm in a situation where I'm reactive, it's note to self, this needs training. Okay, and I mentioned we're gonna dive deeper into what I'm getting ready to show you and discuss in our memberships. Because I think this would be a great idea or strategy for people to understand how would you approach this situation. So in our memberships, in our projects, our memberships, for those that are interested, you can find them on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. We have our level 1 membership, which is more for people with companion animals living in the home. It includes monthly Q&As, interactive live streams, engagement, and level 2 is more for professional animal trainers, people in the field, BCBAs, or people wanting to know more intense about interacting with animals. So Jen says email her. Somebody's asking about an online consult. Yep, you can email me right here, Laura at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. I am available for online consults. If you are a level 1 or level 2 member, your consultations are at a discounted price, and our memberships are annual. It starts at the time that you sign up for it and lasts for the year. And we have our podcast and our memberships, and people also are interested in more species-specific information, such as the Parrot Project and the PID Project. Okay, so let's get this information off of here, and let's start. So, do I start? Yeah, it's time to start. So, okay, here's a particular situation that happened yesterday that I found myself in. And last night when I was trying to think of a topic for Coffee with Your Critters, I was just like, why don't we bring this up? It is about where would you begin, where I present you with a behavior or training concern, and you figure it out. I will tell you what I did, and there's not necessarily just one way to figure this out, but this is what training helps you do. So if that animal can see, hear, smell, or feel you, you are training it whether you realize it or not. The key question is, what are you training it to do? I was just talking about this yesterday morning when I was giving a public demonstration to a bunch of people showing how I train the giraffes here. Good morning, Stacy. Good morning, Bobby. Good morning, Adrian. Good morning, Emma. So, okay. I train numerous different animals. I love training numerous different animals. Yesterday I was in with 13 small alligators. So I call them the baby gators, but they're not babies. They're probably about 5 years old or older. Anyways, so there's 13 gators, and I'm getting ready to show you. And they are in this pen. And let's see, what else do I need to tell you? There's a pond. There's a large, you can see, penned area. And when it's warm, the gators come out and lay all over the area. I need to get in, okay? Those of you in level 2, I've been live streaming my work with them to show you how I get to the point where I'm at with the big gators, where I'm recall training them, target training them. They come to me on cue. These gators don't have a history of being worked with. And when I went in with them for the first time, now I know people, a lot of people on here, majority of people on here probably do not work with gators. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're talking about approach in training and behavior modification. So I don't care if you put in place of here, you're working with 13 budgies, you're working with 13 rabbits, you're working with 13 puppies, you're working with 13 children. The application is the same, okay? Correct. Tim says ABA works among many species. ABA works among all species. It works around with anything. Okay, so using environmental events to control behavior. So the first thing I did, yes, walking in with 13 raptors. Correct, Jen. Very good, Rocky. Okay, so the first thing I did, see, I worked with these gators. I think I live streamed 2 or 3 times with them so far in level 2. All right, so the first time I walked in, well, first thing I need to do is identify reinforcers, right? I'm building my list of reinforcers with these gators, but number 1 on the list right now is raw meat. And I put those meat into balls because it makes it easy for me to throw for accuracy. I'm used to tossing food reinforcers to numerous different animals that I cannot get close to because I haven't developed that training relationship with yet, or the animal is very fearful of me. Okay, I'm used to, I can very precise with a Cheerio. Hey, Sharon. So, okay, the first time I interacted with these gators, they were all out around the pond. All right, I walked in and boom, all of them ran away from me and into the pond. That is not exactly what I want, but behavior doesn't lie. That told me that humans may have been paired in the past as an aversive. Okay, I need to change this. Good morning, Sharon. Good morning, Jeannie out there in New Jersey, and Sharon up there in Long Island. Okay, so behavior doesn't lie. So what that tells me is conditioned aversive. All right, conditioned punisher. So I walk in, animals run away from me. That's not necessarily what I want. I need these animals' attention so I can start telling them and reinforcing behaviors that I want to see maintain, increase. Notice how I didn't say I'm reinforcing the animal, because I don't reinforce the animal. I reinforce behavior from that animal. All right. So the first time I walked in, they all ran from me. I was like, well, alrighty, I guess that's a start. So I walked in with a big plate of meatballs, walking out there like this. And then what I started doing, and I have all this on video, and it turned around pretty quick because yesterday was probably my 4th training session with them. They're not running away from me anymore. I'm having a different situation. I'm too good at my job. So good morning, Mary. Anyways, so I walked in, they were all in the pond, and I know gators have those freckles that are like sensory receptors on their chin where they can feel vibration. So I started taking meatballs and plop in the water, and I would do it right next to, see, if you were here at the Animal Behavior Center and visiting at the zoo, you would hear me talk about this publicly. Because the awesome Lena Kelly from the Alligator Sanctuary is coming to visit the Animal Behavior Center in a couple weeks. But she's taught me that alligators have a strike zone, and it's, sorry, I know I'm half screen. It's like, pretend like I'm an alligator. And they sit like this, all right? Their strike zone is from here to here, all right? Anything within this strike zone moves within that area, you'll see the alligator go like this. All right. So she told me that. So she told me, always stay out of the strike zone. And I do. I do. Well, I keep my body parts out of that strike zone. But I like to call these gators to me. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Therese. All right. So I know this. All right. So I'm like, how can I use this information in this strike zone to my advantage? So I walk into the alligator pen. Now there's 13 of these gators. All right. They're probably about 4 feet long on average, 3 to 4 feet long. So they all run into the water, and I'm like, I am really good with my precision. All right. Sometimes I'm so good, I smack, dab, plop, throw that meatball right between the alligator's eyes on accident. But that's pretty close. So what I start doing is I walk in and I'm like, boom, I'm hitting all 13 gators in this strike zone with the meatballs hitting that water. And what I'm seeing is meatballs are hitting right here and gators are going and constantly going like this. So I've got raw meat that they get at no other time but during training. So they get fed their gator biscuits during the week. Free feeding. They get all they want. All right. This is using, this is part of D and DISC that I talk about in level 1 and level 2 all the time. So I'm using deprivation. Deprivation does not mean withhold food. Okay. If you are withholding all food to get motivation, you may want to rethink your approach. And if you're working with somebody that's withholding all food to increase motivation, you may want to rethink who you're learning from. Okay. So you can create motivation through deprivation without withholding all food. Now, D, deprivation. All right. So I don't starve the gators, but what I do is I give them all the biscuits they want. But the raw meat comes during training sessions and training sessions only. So I'm using one of their highly valued food reinforcers, and it's paired with me and paired with training. All right. That's how I get motivation. And reinforcers are so much more than food. If you're relying on food only to create motivation, you're going to want to start getting a little more creative, right? And that's what application and training on a daily basis does. Causes you to get more creative, and the more situations you find yourself in where you have to problem solve, fine-tunes your training skills, all right? That happens here pretty much on an hourly basis. If anybody has worked with me here, you see how I'm always on the run and always trying to figure out problems, all right? I thrive on that. All right, so I'm just leading up to what you're getting ready to see. All right, and then we're gonna problem solve this video, and I've got another video after that where I'm like, uh-oh, might have a situation, and I'm always looking, thinking, planning one step ahead of where I need to be. All right, that helps prevent me from using any type of aversives to control behavior. I want to stay as far away from positive punishment and negative reinforcement, which means using aversives to control behavior or using force to control behavior. I do not want to do that. And I have worked with somebody who had a very large gator and was having a problem getting them in the winter. And this gator was so large, they cannot pick it up. And I was like, but why would you have to force it? You don't have to force it. Just, and I gave her a training plan, and she called me this past winter and said, thank you. We didn't have to force the gator. We just went with your training plan, and he went exactly where we needed. So when you know better, you do better, right? Okay, so the first time I'm in the gator area, they all ran to the pond. And I immediately started dropping meatballs in their strike zone, okay? I served probably 40 meatballs, end of training session. I left. So I also work with gators. I usually work with them at a certain time of the day, depending on the season. Like I'm getting ready to go train the gators today, and I usually train them between 11:30 and 12:30 because that's when the sun is directly above. Boom, they are all basking in the sun. They're moving faster in the warmer weather, and that's how I want them. But now that it's getting hotter, it doesn't matter what time of day that I work with them. All right, so the second time I went in, we saw a difference. As soon as I opened up the door, gators started moving towards me versus away from me. And I was like, beautiful. Nobody ran from me. But I need to think ahead of where this is going to go because I've paired myself with the positive reinforcer that fast. And if it happens that fast, then you need to be thinking about what you're going to do next. Because if it's happening that fast, they're going to start. Manipulation is a sign of intelligence, where each time a being interacts with its environment, it can manipulate the environment to get a different outcome each time. When I'm working with an animal like that, that's keeping me on my toes. Okay, so let's see. Then this happened, but I didn't catch it in time. Let's see, what is, I'm trying to remember what this video was. Oh, okay. I'm going to set up the scenario. Okay, so not yesterday, but the day before I went in, I walked up, unlocked the cage. Before I could get the cage door open, all 13 gators were coming out of the water and gathering right in front of the door. Okay. I was laughing. I was like, oh my God, this is great. This is a problem, but this is awesome. Because they are training that fast. They are learning that fast. And I've paired myself with the positive reinforcer that fast. And it has made that connection that fast with this limited time interacting. So I'm laughing because of what I'm seeing. I wanted the gators coming to me. Well, they are. And all 13 of them are piled in front of the door and I can't get in. Well, I could, but I can't get in safely. All right. So I was like, I was surprised at how fast it happened. I thought I would have more time to work with this. And this is what happens when you're an animal caregiver in a home setting. There's a reason I don't have macaws. When you're an animal caregiver in a home setting, or you are an animal caretaker like I am here, or if you're a zookeeper. We were talking about this yesterday at this public demonstration where I was saying a lot of zookeepers have this issue. The only time they go in enclosures is to feed and water. Well, you're training those animals. Here comes the cue. They hear your keys rattling on your belt. That's the cue that the keeper's coming, and you'll start seeing animals line up at the door and the keeper cannot get in. So you can do numerous things. Put them in a catch cage or train them. We're already training them anyways. That's why they're lining up at the door. So what I suggested, and I was telling somebody else that was sitting there with me, I was like, not surprising whatsoever that this didn't eventually happen. It just happened faster. Okay, so here's my question to you. All 13 gators are lining up at the door. What do you do? Okay. Bunches of Laura's hair. Hey, Samantha, sorry. Almost called you Sam. Samantha. Okay. So they've learned that quick where the door is, who I am, what's coming, and how to get it. All right. I unlock the door. All 13 gators come moving very fast out of the pond and piling up in front of the door that I couldn't get it open if I wanted to. Okay. Jen says you need to create some distance. Yes. And there's no one right answer here because, Jen says maybe create a go-to station. All right. So just like you have dogs piling up at the door that all have to go to the bathroom and they're all piled, not that I speak from experience, all 3 of them are in front of me and I'm trying to reach the door, but I can't reach it because I have 3 large dogs in front of me. Okay. All gators are running to the door. All dogs are running to the door. What do you want them to do instead? If you don't want them piling up at the door, what do you want them to do instead? They're piling up at the door because you've trained them to. Emma says, teach a station. It's me yesterday. I couldn't talk all day yesterday. This lady has tasty treats. Yes, I do have tasty treats. And they're paired with me. They're paired with me so well. Like the big gators that I train, where I live stream, where I go in and train, are, see that fence behind these gators? They're right on the other side. So when I walk by and I start training the big gators, I have to whisper. And I whisper to everybody that starts gathering around. They're like, why is she whispering when she's gator training? Why? Because they know my voice. And they'll all be in the back in the pasture sunbathing. As soon as they hear my voice, boom, they make a beeline to the front, where I usually call them. And I like people to see how well trained they are from a sound. Nonverbal sound. Okay, so I need to create some distance. So I've paired myself with the door. Let me go ahead and play this. Make it big. Wrong way. There we go. Ugh. This might be better side by side because you need to see what I'm gonna do. Okay, so here's the door. Right in front is where the door is. So what I do is I go over somewhere else and I start throwing meatballs into the pond. So I'm standing now over there, away from the gate, throwing meatballs into the pond. So then I was like, yeah, all I was intentionally trying to do was show that food comes from another area other than the gate. But what I decided to do is teach every gator, when I walk up and start training you, everybody runs to the pond. If they are in their pond, they're not all 13 piled up in front of me. So they hear that smack of the meatball hitting the water. That is a conditioned reinforcer. All right, so they start hearing that smack of the meatball in the water. I'm pairing that with food delivery, so you can hear the chains getting undone. And look, they've already known. They're like, oh, she's coming in. I wasn't undoing the chain. Somebody else was.
Yep,
that
I'm
was
here.
also recording this. And I'm still over here throwing meatballs in the pond.
Yep, I'm here.
Want the train to be running tonight?
Okay, makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay, I've got another one to show you, but I'm sitting here throwing meatballs into the pond, and Jamie was unlocking the gate, and you could see that I'm way over here throwing meatballs in the pond. As soon as she turns that key and that chain hits, you see some of those gators come back to the gate. So that conditioned reinforcer is still known as well. I need to retrain that. All right. So then I sat there and I thought, this, maybe I just train when I show up and they hear that, let's train this. When I show up and they hear that lock twist, that's their cue, run to the pond. All right. So instead of all 13 gators at the door, they are now in the pond. And I was able to get everyone into the pond but one. And you see the situation where I have next. So I am currently just training them, everybody into the pond, everybody into the pond. All right. Won't they fight with each other to get meatballs if they are all in the same place? Good question, Daniela. And I'm sitting here thinking, what do I do? What I look for, I haven't seen any fighting. If I have seen fighting, I would figure something else out. But what I'm doing is I'm standing in front of the pond, and you'll see it in this next stream. I'm standing in front of the pond and boom, boom, just throwing meatballs and trying to get them to each of the gators. Let's see. I think I edited too much of this video out, because what had happened is all gators were in the pond but two. One was, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. So see this gator, you see the two gators on the left and the one gator on the right? The gator on my right is my concern, not the two gators on the left. So all gators before I edited this too much. All gators were in the pond except for this one on the right, and then there was another one on the other side of the pond. All right. And let me show you my situation. Or maybe I just show the video, but let me explain to you my situation first, because it'll explain why my choices were a little limited. This gator on the right, I need to get it. He's not getting in the pond. He's following me. He's just coming after me for the meatballs. All right. I don't want him coming after me for the meatballs. I want him in the pond. So one thing I could have done was put myself on the other side of the pond, so he has to go through the pond to get to me. I don't want to do that because that area behind the pond is small and it limits my choices, and I don't have, I haven't had enough training time with these gators to know that they thoroughly understand in the pond is where you're being fed. Obviously, you'll see that doesn't happen, what I'm getting ready to show you. So that's why I do not want myself on the other side of the pond, because the distance between me and the fence is very small and my options are very limited in case training doesn't go the way I want and I need to create distance. I went in yesterday without a stick because I didn't think I was going to get this behavior. Today I will be going in with a stick. Okay, so that's why I'm not going to the other side of the pond. Or you know what? There's two gators out because there's this one on the right and there's one closer to the camera. So that's limiting my options of when I get back to the gate, how I'm going to get back to the gate. Let me just show you. So I want this gator on the right in the pond. All right. And in the plan I have backfires. There he is in front of me. So I'm throwing over his head into the water, hoping he hears that. Okay, let me back up what I did. Let me just show you. Well, I'll let it run through. Then I'll tell you the mistake I made because I didn't point it out. So here, I'm relying on those freckles on the bottom of their chin to be able to feel vibrations. So I'm trying to hit the meatball on the ground and have it roll away from me so this gator closest to me goes closer to the pond. Here comes that one that's over. That was kind of in the path of my way to get back to the door. So that one I had a concern with is right in front of me and is now pointing his nose at the pond. I'm trying to hit the ground and let the meatball roll into the pond.
Aubrey?
Okay, so let me replay this. All right. So what happens is that gator that's right in front of me, all the gators were in the pond except for two. One's over closer to the gate and one is right in front of me. All right. So what I do is I'm sitting there and I was talking right before this and I said, this gator keeps inching closer and closer to me because he wants the meatballs. If I throw a meatball at him to get him to redirect his behavior to the meatball and off of me, then I'm likely to reinforce the very behavior of him continuing to come to me. Does that make sense? So what I did was, and I'm sitting there, I was like, I need to get this gator in the pond. So what I do is instead of throwing the meatball over his head and into the pond, I threw it over his head just on the other side of him. And it worked. If I want to shape the behavior of the gator's snout going and headed towards that pond, that's exactly what I want. I got it. I got it. The gator turned. Did you see what else happened though? Let me show that again. Right there. Or no, sorry, the next one. Right on the other side of him. Boom, he started turning, but look what happens to the two gators in the pond. Did it again, boom, he's turning, but it's the gators in the pond are like, oh, we need to come out of the pond because that guy's getting, the food is now being delivered up there. So what happens is that gator starts directing his snout back towards the pond, but now I've got one gator coming out of the pond, got two gators coming out of the pond, and then I got this one sneaking up on my left. Okay, so the gator I wanted going back to the pond is going, but I have two more that have now come out. So now, and I got the one coming up on my left. So I treat all three gators as one. And I was like, now I need to get all three gators' snouts going back towards the pond. And I eventually get it. So I've got one going back, I've got a second headed, and I've got the one that I needed going back, heading that direction. Boom, so I'm trying to hit the ground and back into the pond, making that splash.
Hey, Aubrey?
So I just have some fine tuning.
Hey, Aubrey?
Make sense? Make sense? Yeah, I brought them out. I accidentally brought them out. We are live streaming this in our level 2. So not all people want to see how to train gators, but what we do in level 2 is I show you something you may not be familiar with, a species you may not be familiar with, an environment you may not be familiar with, and show how I try to work through things. So I'm very excited to go back and train these gators today. I will be working on that. I love training gators because I just love them. Because when I train an animal, I learn more about that animal. When I train an animal, that animal's training me too. I'm getting information from that animal. I'm giving that animal information, and I'm creating such a strong relationship with that animal that when an emergency comes around or somebody is like, oh my gosh, something's happened, hopefully they're like, call Laura, because usually, more than likely, I've got a relationship with that animal. I already have cues that I've developed, and I can get that animal to do what we need it to do without any use of force. So with that being said, for those that are interested in the work that we do, want more information, take a look at our level 1 membership, which is only $149 for the year, and that includes monthly Q&As, live streams, podcasts, our level 2, our weekly live streams, monthly. We just had a monthly discussion the other day. We did a marketing discussion on a new social media platform and how it can work to your advantage, and it is another key component I am looking at bringing to the people in the Parrot Project. So our projects are more species specific, so people who don't necessarily want to learn just about behavior and how it applies to all animals, but how it applies to a certain species. We also have our monthly podcast, which people love. Our last one was with Dr. Deb Jones. I'll be working on our next one within the next 2 weeks. We also have, as far as our services, we do workshops. So we've got one workshop getting ready to happen, another one being scheduled. And I do travel and give workshops, and looking forward back to getting back into traveling. We also have webinars, which are on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Some of these webinars are live streamed. We'll be live streaming some upcoming webinars. And if you are in our projects or memberships, depending on what that webinar is, it is free to those. So all live stream parrot related webinars are free to people in the Parrot Project, and all behavior related webinars are free to those in level 1 and level 2. So we have numerous different webinars on numerous different topics, and we have a full library of them on our website. And also, we also have a referral program. So for every 5 people that you refer to our services and they join, you get a 1-hour free consultation with me. Ray says level 1 and the Parrot Project are a must for any parrot owner. I've learned so much. Thank you, Ray and Ari down there in Florida. And with that being said, I am going to go train some animals and train my gators this afternoon. All right, guys, have a great week. And if you're in the Parrot Project or level 1 or level 2, I'll probably see you live streaming in there. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.